All right, mic check, mic check. Should be able to see the screen. Let's get this thing off here. Excuse me. Mr. Blue, TradePhantoms.com. Let's dive in. We got a lot to cover. It's the beginning of soon to be the beginning of the trading session here. But futures are open. I'll cover those first. Today's Tuesday, the 10th of June, 2025. Hopefully, everybody had a good weekend. We have a couple things today in regard to nothing today. I got a little notepad here with scheduled economic news. Today being Tuesday the 10th, it's fairly quiet in regard to planned economic news. Later today, we do have President Trump speaking at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so that would be when the market closes. That's something that you might want to put something on your radar. But the markets will close after that. Futures and forex will still be trading. Tomorrow's a bigger day, in that being Wednesday the 11th, we have CPI, core CPI month over month, right? And then we have year over year. And so that's I would say is one of the bigger catalysts, if you will, for this week for potentially some movement. Yesterday we had a couple of tickers that moved decently, but the indexes, SPYs and Qs were pretty quiet for the most part. But we'll get to the charts in a moment. Thursday we do have core PPI and unemployment claims, followed by Friday consumer sentiment. So just kind of giving kind of a quick little lay of the land. Before I dive in officially on the charts, which is the good stuff, got to get through some prelim stuff here. Institutional demand supply backdrop, top down multiple time frame approach, and we got you see a couple of color codes here. Got monthly orange, weekly is going to be yellow, daily is going to be blue. So anything that you see in orange has to do with the monthly time frame, so on and so forth. Anything you see in yellow is going to be weekly, daily is blue, right? So that's the color code there. Quick little checklist. We got candlesticks, bunch of names. Location be most important. How to execute off of them is going to be most important. And again, candlestick location is going to be most important for bearish candlesticks as well. Okay, bunch of fancy names there. I'll scroll down to the liquidity map. Park this over here to the left. Usually bring this up once or twice a day, give or take. It usually comes up kind of naturally. But this is the 4-quadrant liquidity map, putting the higher time frames to the smaller time frames. And this is kind of an execution map, execution model, if you will. All right, I'll start off with futures. As usually, I will start going over kind of the major 4 indexes with the S&P. Upper left, yeah, did lose internet yesterday, so seems to be okay now. It's a long story. Don't want to waste anybody's time in here. It's kind of annoying. Had to restart a whole process. It was a thing. It took I have no extra time right now. I have no extra time, and that took probably that was a whole almost 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 40 minutes of life that I won't get back. So wasn't too happy about that. But moving on, we got S&P upper left, NASDAQ upper right, Dow Jones lower left, Russell 2000 bottom right. Russell trying to poke out a little bit there, some small cap. I'm gonna pop open the daily time frame, zoom in, and here's so far today's candle. Look at yesterday's candle being June 9th. Absolutely nothing. Just a little bit of a move up, a little bit of a move down, a complete doji close right there. If we do trade below that, typically that would be a little bit more, give us a little bit more of a drop down, but we haven't even taken that out just yet. Yesterday's low, yesterday's high. Friday, put in a decent little bullish bar, at least for futures. Okay, had a nice little red bar takeout, if you will. Green little bullish bar stands here. So anyways, this market's still kind of grinding, doing its thing higher here, right? So it's been kind of slow and kind of grindy, but a grind up nonetheless. Yesterday's high is overnight high, I should say, 6040.75. And we kind of did have this next level. If we broke this 60.15 handle, 60.25, the next level that I just kind of have mapped out on the S&P futures, 60.35. Okay, we're coming down off of that level here with a high of 40, so at the 40 handle, so pretty decent there. Next level up, I got 60.55. You might not be able to see this guy up here, but 60.70, 60.75, also going to be another hit point area in the event that the market's make a new, punch out a new higher high. We do have a couple levels lower down here. I'll drop down to the smaller time frames. It's kind of always just referencing that 20 peg moving average. Just where is it in the abyss of markets? Okay, and that would be a little bit more lower. So we've been making slow and grindy higher high, higher low. I'm on a daily time frame here above that 20 pip moving average. So again, just using that as a guide. It's just a moving average. It's not a holy grail or anything like that. Okay, demand supply is going to be more important. Okay, but in the event that this market did want to come down and mean revert just a little bit more deeper, okay, coming off these highs potentially, okay, the 20 pip moving average is hovering about, give or take, about 59.10, okay, 59.09 as we have a couple of daily lows down in here too that could provide some liquidity sweeping if we break a bit more lower, and that will be better identified on the intermediate time frame. I'm going to drop down to the 1 hour time frame in just a hot minute here. NASDAQ can almost say the same thing here, daily time frame. Now NASDAQ is extremely close to its all-time high. Okay. Yeah, Derek, we're in some supply. Indeed, we're at the all-time high, close to the all-time high supply in a lot of these tickers. You'll notice that. But we're starting to get already, we got Microsoft, new all-time high. We got Broadcom, new all-time high. NVIDIA kind of up there in a way. So, and there's some tickers, HIMS, Palantir. Markets could potentially make a new all-time high. So, I would definitely want to put that on your radar. I wouldn't price it out of your game plan over the next several weeks, give or take. Surprising myself how quickly we recovered here, but how fast it happened just from, kind of slow and grinding now, but off of the 4-9 famous candle there, that famous day, right? Up 10% one day. We just backfilled the whole, basically the whole drop since the beginning of the year. So, we are up here at supply, but, we could just have some more drops. It could come lower before we go higher. So we'll see. All right. Looks like we need some kind of catalyst for this market to have some kind of bigger drop going forward. We'll see. All right. So we got. I should probably just get straight to the daily time frame here. I'll go to the Qs. We do have a level up here, 22,320 handle. Okay. I'm sure there's a smaller intermediate level down here as well, right before this. But I got 22,450 all the way up here to 22,350. So about 100-point range here. You can zone in and look at some drop-based drops on the upper left of here. Okay, lower, referencing that 20 period moving average. Got a couple of daily lows here. We got a couple of G traps down in here in the smaller time frame. So might as well just get to that right now, which I will do. Moving on here. All right, for the lay of the land, I got the monthly here on the left. Think or swim here. Monthly on the left, weekly here, daily on the right. Monthly, weekly, daily. 60-minute time frame upper left, 30-minute time frame bottom left here, kind of an intermediate time frame, if you will, and 5-minute here, followed by 2-minute time frame here. Pop up in that 60-minute time frame here of S&P futures. All right, one of the first things we want to do, map out what's called our Globex low, which is right here. Fancy word for what's the lowest point during the overnight session in Think or Swim. Kind of grades that space out for us. That's right here, 59.91-ish rounding. And I realize that is wrong. There we go. Fix that up. 59.90, 59.40 is, 60.40 is the Globex high as mentioned. Kind of in the middle right now, right? So we had a nice little rally overnight or early, late last night, and then now we kind of dropped out in kind of mid-morning Eastern time here, 3 a.m. Eastern, put in that Globex low. So we're kind of rebalanced here. So we already did kind of dip down into some demand level. All right, we had these supply levels up here, for the last couple of weeks here. Okay, dipped in, came back down into demand, rallied back up, came back up above the 60.15s, 60.35. We already kind of spoke about that. Moving forward, we already dropped down into this level here. All right, if I look at a level below the Globex low, if I look down and left, there's something called a G trap short. Okay, we do have this demand level right here that's hard to ignore here. So I will map this out. This was developed Friday, 7 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Eastern, give or take. Okay, nice little pump rally, new high there. All right, so we could potentially use this today for what's called a G-trap bullish long. Let me just make a note of that. comes in about 59.70. I'll round up to 73. Yeah, Mark, you'll see I do have that on SPY, that pyramid, starting to get up into the upper levels of that pyramid, position sizing there. You'll see that. We have another level lower too, well, a couple levels lower, right? $59.60 here. All right, which kind of created, it's already worked out over here where we had a level popped over here. But now it's kind of left even on this side here, right? If we come down, on the impulse little basing impulse right now, right? And we got this daily low. We got this daily low here. Now, if we if we do happen to take these levels out, okay, there could be some liquidity sweeping down here. I believe the 20-period moving average, as mentioned, comes in at about what, 59.07 here. 59.07 will bring us down into this area here. So I don't have enough time to go through what's called liquidity sweeping right now. We need more time for that. But there's below this daily low called 59.28 half handle here on the S&Ps. And then we got the daily 20-period moving average hanging right here, 59.07. Okay, so these could be locations for what's called liquidity sweeps, which would be bullish. All right, right below those daily lows. All right, again, typically, if I had more time, I would kind of go over that in more detail. All right, so I just want to prepare for the live open for you folks. So just gotta keep it, I'll leave it there for now. All right, but call it 59.25, and then we have a 59, maybe even 05. All right, 59.25, 59.05. So pretty interesting there. All right, and whoops, wrong button there. And if we go higher, I'm going to be really referencing the S&P. So before I move on to the NASDAQ real quick, we'll get back to the SPYs. But I got a weekly time frame here on the left. Okay, I got a daily time frame here on the right. And we are only, this is the all-time high level here. We're only about 0.89% of the all-time high. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, that's wrong. I digress. Roughly, based on yesterday's close, I know that was too crazy. 2.2, give or take, right? 2.5% sub, right? Between 2.5% off of the all-time high. Okay, in SPYs, S&Ps, etc., right? So yeah, so that's that, right? So yes, people mentioning that we're coming up into some areas of supply, so on and so forth. Okay, but we could potentially make a new all-time high, folks. Okay, get some exit distribution going here. So again, I'm not trying to exaggerate this or anything of that nature. Okay, we might not. All right, now we have some levels here, right? So we did have this rally that's basing this drop that we had kind of planned out last week, which we used, what we could have used yesterday, and that's yesterday's high. If I kind of zoom in here, okay, this rally is based on this nice little drop here, okay, in between 601 and 601.87. Okay, and if I go and scroll to the right, we kind of hit that yesterday, right? Now that was yesterday. Okay, here we are there, right? Which kind of dropped out. That was yesterday's kind of around the high, right in kind of the middle of that level. Okay, so even if we do make a higher high, okay, if we do go higher, well, we can potentially snap this level and have a weekly high right here. All right, coming in at 603.12. And again, this could be used as some liquidity. So if long TP. Right now, I'm just going to switch over to daily because this scroll is too much. All right, so if long TP, We would have to break this 601, 601.87 rally-based drop off the left that I just kind of showcased there. And maybe next hit point up here, 603.13, 603.5. This is SPYs. All right, so this could potentially line up with what's called a G trap. Good morning, Joe Frank. This could be a liquidity sweep up here. So I'll put that red. If long TP, take profit. Okay, and this could also potentially align with what's called a S&P futures G trap short. Could potentially even be, to Mark's point earlier in the chat here, maybe potentially leg into a potential long put for a bit of a swing trade as we're getting really close onto these highs for potential mean revert. All right, again, that 20 pip moving average on the dailies right here. We got last week's low here. All right, last week's low, it's all the way down here. That would be a nice little mean revert for the week, potentially 585 handle. But we got a couple of daily levels to get through below that. All right, daily time from here on the right. All right, let's move on. Let me switch back over to the NASDAQ futures. Map out of Globex traps. Yeah, market is becoming a monster as a trader. A good thing, a good way monster. Globex side here, it's beasting right now. Boosted. Globex low. And I gotta clean this chart up a little bit here. Because you go all the way over here, great. This is all old now. I like to keep the lines here sometimes just so y'all folks can see. But there comes a time where you just got to move on from certain things. There's a daily low right here, essentially yesterday's low. I like this because right going to be below daily low and Globex low. We have an impulse, basic impulse right here. Nice little decent one here. It's developed overnight, but a rally nonetheless. This is NASDAQ futures here, 1 hour time frame. All right, fairly decent. I'm going to take this line here, save some time here. Boom. 21,680 handle. Interesting here. All right, and wow, we have already a line right here too. We can kind of reference this whole area. There's another daily low here. So watch out for these Globex. These not only Globex, because Globex traps, we learn about them in due time inside of the focus classes at Phantoms. So a whole lesson on it. Globex trap is a liquidity sweep, and we also have a couple daily lows in here for liquidity sweeping as well. All right, so kind of big zone here, if you will. All right, 21,560. Okay, write that into 21,470. Again, could be some liquidity sweeping here in regard to these below these daily lows. All right, so this is recorded, right? You can kind of go back and maybe potentially get the levels here. All right, all I'm doing here is current price, look down and left, looking for some institutional demand levels. Okay, on the hard right edge. All right, if I go up, let me just look at Qs. Again, just weekly on the left, daily on the right. Right, mapping out last week's high, last week's low, so on and so forth. Had a nice trade last week on NASDAQ, kind of really set the stage for the week. Okay, went heavy off this polymer COG here. Okay, new high. All right, we could pull back, right? So if I look up and left, I mean, really, NASDAQ, there's really not much here. I'm sure there's some base drops in here, but all-time high, we're really close to that, folks. All right, 1.7%. I mean, I'm not saying, and that could be a day's work, that could be a day's work. So again, I'm not trying to entice anybody, but that could easily be done. Just off like some kind of halfway decent CPI print if the markets just take that in and run the ball with it for a new high. some exit distribution now. If I look up and left, zooming in here, I could probably see a little bit of a base drop right in here on a 30-minute time frame. Very small time frame. There's another one here. So, I mean, that's it, folks. Last week's high was here. There's only two little baby levels here that is potentially holding up NASDAQ from, or preventing NASDAQ from making an all-time high. That could easily get done. All right, now today there's no catalyst. I know, we don't play politics or phantoms, etc. There's some things going on in the background as well, right? Blah blah, right? And I get it. It's kind of serious. Sometimes it's some serious stuff, but and as far as an economic catalyst news announcement, not really much. Just for today. So a lot of traders might just be potentially, catalysts are good, these news announcements, because it provides movement, liquidity, etc. Right? So tomorrow's a big day with CPI, but that's tomorrow. So, just keep that in mind. All right. It's kind of quiescent this morning, as Tom Key would say, Bloomberg, my man. All right. Futures are kind of inverting right now. This is kind of where the drop really fell out too. So I'm trying to put a price point. Just putting a couple of hit points here. When I'm doing QQQs, is putting a couple of hit points here in regard to what's above supply. What's above where we are right now. Yeah, a lot of people are doing some things. Even on this stream right now, it's pretty low. So people. It's kind of that time of year where kids are kind of getting out of school, kind of quiet summer. A lot of moving is happening. All I see is people moving, and even in my own neighborhood right now, I'm moving. I'm moving this weekend, by the way. All right, I'm gonna be cut off of internet, by the way. I don't want to be put too much personal things on the internet, but on YouTube, etc. But I'm gonna be cut off from internet. I'm gonna be able to do our session on Thursday, and Wednesday we're good. Tonight we're good. Hopefully, we're gonna get the internet back up. Wednesday we're good, normal. Thursday I'll be able to work with folks in the morning, but I'm getting cut off. I have to cut off the internet Thursday mid-afternoon. So I'm done. Right? And then I'm moving over this weekend. Should be good to go. I got the internet set up to get back wired up on the internet on the 16th. Might take me a day, so it looks like by next Tuesday, the 17th. Okay. All things being equal, right? If everything goes as smoothly as possible, might be able to get back booted up and get the screens back going in my desk by the 17th on Tuesday. So a couple days, moving to a different state. So it's going to take some time. Boston. Going back to Boston. All right, that was Qs. Let's pick up the speed. VIX. We got VIX. VIX down, market up. VIX up, market down. Way more to that. All right, we got a 17 print VIX at the moment, so not a lot of quote unquote fair in the marketplace at the moment. Right, could go a bit lower, of course, potentially. All right, we got this level here, 15, 16 handle here. All right, but we're gonna map this out always on the smaller time frames as well. So VIX up, market down, VIX down, market up. A lot more to that, but keep it that simple for right now. You can see yesterday, VIX was kind of floating down all day yesterday. SPYs and Qs were just hanging out, not really moving up or much down, but a lot of other tickers were moving. Okay, we'll see if this continues for the day. So I kind of map out the overnight high, overnight low of said VIX. If we grind hot lower, it could be more bullish for the market. I always kind of pin kind of the middle for me to invert, and then I kind of map out preparing the overnight high just to see, okay, is price going to get up here and remain above there? And if that happens, we get a spike and it sustains, it could be a little more bearish for the market, at least for that day. Okay, all right, at least for that day. All right. And let's see, kind of already went over Q's dollar index. Kind of mentioning how dollar, down, lower. I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist here, but it looks like they're trying to suppress dollar a little bit for the trade deficit, but not going to go there. But yeah, kind of pending a new low here, waiting for a new lower low potentially, which I'm kind of expecting if dollar can get down to this 56, 50, I'm sorry, 59, 96, 95. I'll get it out, 95, 96 level down here. So potential new pending new low on that. GLD, interesting. I got to actually get into, kind of want to grab some gold here. I meant to do that on Friday, but didn't do it. I'll leave the screens a little early on Friday, but coming down into this level, kind of mapped out. This is gold futures, by the way. I know you can't see it monthly, weekly, daily, a bunch of levels here, but kind of into that 20 moving average, a little bit of a drop down, mean reversion already. We'd mentioned that this level here, we could easily come down and pick up some liquidity here. Okay, I had these levels mapped out here. There was an unfilled gap, came down to that, almost perfect 60-minute time frame of gold futures here, and came down with basing. So this could potentially be decent here for a nice little pullback for gather some more fuel here, if you will, more steam, more buyers for a potential new high. All right, kind of a hedge if you're like, this market's really high to buy the not gold, but if you're like, the Nasdaq and Q's kind of up here at this supply, and what if it doesn't really make a new all-time high? Gold is that safe haven, right? That safe haven metal to potentially work on, right? Monthly, weekly, daily is still up on this thing. Intraday here, if I map out Globex high, Globex low, just to kind of give a quick little update on this. This was yesterday's low here. Let's see the liquidity sweeps on dailies. All right, now this is yesterday's low, right? So it could be a little bit of a sweep there. Some levels lower down here on the 60. All right. If it doesn't get there, below the Globex low, you're still going to be looking down here. But if you want to try to engage this in the middle, we got a VWAP test right there. There's a couple of demand levels right in here. These could be a pullback, 33.40. There's already a line there, so I'll just keep that. A couple of pullback levels in here. 40 and 30 handle. 33.40 handle, 33.30 handle, give or take. That would be within the Globex high and low, which is okay, because I like the position on the daily. VWAP test right here, that dashed line right there, 33.43 handle. All right, so they could potentially break down this shelf here, grab some liquidity here at 33.40 potentially. Not bad there, all right, if that happens. Right, gold's been a little more slow and kind of rangy as of late, as opposed to a fast moving condition trend up. Yeah, definitely get some eyes on GLD, blessing indeed. All right, be sure to reference gold futures. We have this unfilled gap, so if it does go lower, there's an unfilled gap here as well. All right. But a weekly on the left, daily on the right, close here, gap up. It's going to be an inside gap. Yesterday on GLD was an inside day on dailies. All right, last week's highs up here is the following all-time high and May's high. Yeah, I see that mark. 45, a little sneaky on the 30. A little sneaky level there. Yeah, a little sneak right there. VWAP test. Would not put my stop loss right below that level. They might snag that shelf there. Good job. Good job. looking for rules of engagement. You need rules. All right, cool, good job. Apple. Oh, Apple. I'm not gonna waste our time here. They did have their conference. Apple's really behind on AI, so they're trying to make up things to stay relevant. They're coming out with this whole glass operating system in Apple. I'm like, oh god, so iPhone update's going to be kind of odd soon. But on the weekly and the daily here, it's not. It's still being pinched. This thing, it's not even worth our time at the moment. Amazon, on the other hand, remember we were talking about Amazon. If you watch any of the past recordings, it was very similar to Apple, but I was mentioning that this is trying to relative strength in terms of relative strength pop up. So it actually is starting to pop up a bit more here, right? A couple of folks I can grab this on Friday. Okay, yesterday was a nice little breakout day, continuation following off the back of a nice little weekly green bar that finally kind of punched out above this little basic. I'm talking basic little trend line here. Okay, very simply put there. 220 is the next weekly high up into this level right here. Could be a next liquidity sweep snag potentially even today if they get up there. Okay, but we got some momentum here today. Well, we'll see if it continues its momentum here today. We'll see. Okay, yesterday's high is today's low here, and slight gap up. So we'll see if this can continue to have some potential legs. CK Smoke, my man. Listen, chat, I guess the answer to your question is just straight up no. No, I was pissed yesterday. No internet. So I'll get to AMD here for you right now. So I don't know if you're long or short AMD, but AMD yesterday had a nice little inside bar break, clearing bar from a mother bar bullish weekly here. So base is trying to break here. So we had inside bar. Friday was an inside bar. Yesterday being Monday, we gapped up outside of that. Okay, so we get some pool potential continuation on this. We'll see. All right. It's breaking out some weeklies. We have a couple of weekly highs up here to the left. Hit high here and high here. So it could potentially use for just some liquidity snagging. $125.70 handle, give or take. AMD. All right, now before I move on from that, however, it's important to note it's not 100% aligned here in the monthly on the left here, weekly here in the middle, and then daily on the right. So it's trying to play a bit of catch up from the other semiconductor plays like TSM, Broadcom, Nvidia. All right, but that bar right there off the kind of downward, kind of sloping 200 period moving average, we get the sideways 200 period moving average here on the weekly. It's trying to do its thing here. Okay, it's trying to do its thing here to pop. All right, but be careful. We got 2 standard deviations outside of the daily side close there, but it contracted in terms of what's called volatility. The Bollinger Band is kind of contracted, so it might have another day or two with legs here to potentially go on a little pump there. All right, potentially, we'll see. But you always have to see what that looks like on the intraday time frame as well as we open. All right, I went to AMD straight there because to hook up my guy CK Smoke. AVGO weekly here, beast. Some people caught this on earnings, exit distribution, took some profit on this on these new all-time highs just for stock. All right, putting a little bit, so this is some selling pressure, some earnings too, right? So now selling for some exit distribution, people, buying some puts for insurance. We spoke a bit about that. All right, made it all-time high. AVGO Broadcom. Okay, all-time high. Now we already pulled back decently on this, right? We already pulled back decently on this. So from the all-time high. And my charts are not as organized as what they typically would be on a normal week, quote unquote normal week. You think moving is like, yeah, it's easy. We'll be quick. Just put a couple things in a couple boxes, put it on a truck or an iPod and an iPad and whatever pod. And it's not. It's you underestimate and you get overwhelmed. It's kind of annoying. And I'm paying for like help left and right. AVGO, interesting. We'll have to pop above yesterday's high for a nice little doji bar here. I wonder if that pulled back to the 20. Could potentially go lower, but definitely relative strength. We'll see how that opens up. Trades intraday. I'm gonna go a little quicker here. Google trying to break out too. Broke out. Caught a nice trade on Friday with the team. Maybe folks caught this yesterday, Monday as well. Potentially breaking May's high today outside of monthly here. All right, weekly bar's been closing green. It's been sluggish and not so easy, but it's doing its thing, working out here. So at some point, this might want to potentially pop. And this is what I'm saying with S&Ps and Qs approaching some supply, all-time high supply. A lot of these mega cap stocks have not popped out yet. If Apple catches some bids and Google kind of clears this space, and Amazon kind of continues its rally, that could pop. That could pop the Qs potentially up into around those all-time highs. All right, so many notes on Tesla here. Oh my God. Yesterday was a day. Didn't have a spread on this. Yesterday Tesla had a nice day. I'm gonna play a little catch up with you folks in here. Not ideal. Tesla had some drama last week, as always, and ticker down this demand level that we kind of already had mapped out. I sold the put spread down here on this. Those are already working out pretty well. So I've got some bullish exposure off this. Yesterday, I think the team was catching Tesla long yesterday, so pretty interesting. A little bit of a still inside bar, but interesting formation here. Let me see. The closest thing that could potentially give you, maybe something like, not really, but kind of, I don't know really what a name for this is, but pretty decent here. But we are coming up into a retest level and supply above, so just be careful. Even though we're gapping up, be careful, okay? That's hard to get long into. As you can see, I'm on a 60-minute time frame now. This gap, drop down gap, basing, big dropout, okay? This week's VWAP's hanging up here too. I think I could fake VWAP for that peak right there, also hanging out over here. So be extremely careful on this. This might almost be a, if long TP some, this might be a leg in short if we can get into this area up here, call it 320 handle on Tesla. Nice pop off that daily demand level. Microsoft, again, all-time high. All right, Microsoft, all-time high. Yesterday's high, yesterday's low. So again, this is going to be on the radar, of course, because you're in the abyss of all-time highs. However, you have to always battle exit distribution where folks take profit to realize gain. Okay, especially after this big drop down, and then we got one of the faster recoveries in history here. Okay, off those April lows. Okay, so you have to battle exit distribution. Doesn't mean that's going to come all the way back down, but if you look, ABGO had earnings, so earnings was a catalyst to kind of bring it back down, a quick little deeper mean reversion. Okay, but I always tell my traders just to always reference the 20 pip moving average. Okay, and when we start to get really far out, like on the daily time frame, well, on all time frames, but as you can see on the daily time frame, when we start to get kind of further away from that, we start to get outside of 2 standard deviations. Watch out, because we could just, we could pull back pretty sharp. Okay, so we'll see how that unravels intraday for to take some potentially day trades. Meta's been on the list for the past like 2 weeks. All right, doing great things. Came into the supply zone yesterday on this, so we had to close there. Respected that briefly here. Came down, started kind of getting dumped out off the open here. But we'll see how it gets to Meta. Nvidia close to all-time highs, and we already went over AMD. MSTR beasting right now. So we just bought another like $110 million worth of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is almost to its all-time high. Had a couple of weekly levels that we kind of mapped out here, and just classic, right? Weekly low, quick little new weekly low, swipe for liquidity, and Bitcoin up here. A couple grand away from the all-time highs. A bit interesting. All right, let me get to the internals real quick. Take a peek at that. Why is my chart not updating? Broadcom setting up an interesting bar off open. Apple as well. Advanced declines positive 1200. It's not super extreme. Vol D slightly higher so far. I gotta change this layout so I can just look at it one full page instead of clicking so much. Make some adjustments for sure. All right, just while I'm here real quick, let me pop this over to a daily. Anybody take that coin trade? Swing. Apple follow through. It's just so in the middle here. Is it going to break out? It hasn't really been following through. It's been breaking hearts, not breaking out. Lily, follow through. Lily's actually breaking out. We covered this last week. Anybody catch this trade? This trade we planned out. Anybody catch this? It's a beast right now. That's breaking out. Let's see. JP Morgan. AVGO putting a wide range bar of open and already swiped below it, potentially for some liquidity. I trust AVGO more than Apple. Had a nice trade with Visa. SPY's trying to pump above its VWAP very early. Microsoft a little heavy. A little bit of a negative Dextro here, 60.50 on SPX. They've been heartbreakers though, because just the options. with vol being so low, we really need direction to really go and pump the option premium up. And market's been moving up, but it's been kind of like slow. So almost futures are like almost better to trade with a Delta One product. All right, so I'm flat right now, just still going through things here. Even the gap up on gold fading a bit here off open. Google, interesting. It's trying to take out this negative bar here. So Google on call looks like it's out the gate here. So if I use June 13th, Fridays, if you pick up, say, the 180 strike, if you wanted to get a bit more delta, the 177.5. If you pick up the 177.5, that's going for about $2.60 there. If you pick up the 180, they're going for about $1.45. Either or is pretty good here. I'll snag this one just real quick here, the 180 strike. So that's long call Google here. Premium chart. All right, strike 180. Just this Friday's expiration. Keep it simple for right now. Google. There's another account here. SPY's trying to do a claim of its VWAP. Full send. I can put some limit orders up here. It's like $1.85 for Google on those premiums. Taking this bar out, long call. I'll make a note of this nice and neat later, I guess. All right, we'll see if you get some fall through on that. The one caveat on this is going to be this May high. But we'll see if they can squeeze that a bit there. Disney calls yesterday. Mickey Mouse. Hey, it's me, Mickey Mouse. Fall through. Clearing monthlies. Got some space. Contraction of vol, so that could potentially have some legs there. Good job. Mark Wahlberg's on fire. Walmart looking halfway decent, even for a bit of a swing here, swing opportunity here for a bit of a base pop here. That could be something. A bit of a setup. Fix on lows right now at the moment. Advanced decline is deteriorating a little bit. It's not ideal, so it's something that you would not want to see if you're trying to take this positive COG. and SPYs. Still working here, folks, for you. Trying to, I don't just click buttons, I need to have a setup. Yeah, NASDAQ's trying to do something here. Meta is actually clearing. We're trying to clear that opening red bar print. All right, Google's trying to go a little there, but it's not a lot, but it's trying to. That is interesting. Long call Meta looks decent. It's already going a bit there. It's already clearing that. Has a bit of a small little pain gap here. It kind of reminds me of last Friday, but it was hard to catch legs on this because we're at some kind of level of supply. So it's a small time frame here, but we have a drop-based drop up here at 716. So if we were to take this, maybe you can get like maybe a 38 delta, maybe the 710 strike here for 585. See if we could try to get some continuation follow through. You might be able to get this for a pullback price. This market's not screaming higher. This is the 710 strike for Friday's expiration. Here's the premium chart. So you can work on, say, premium here. We can be say you can put in some bids lower, so therefore you kind of catch Meta potentially on a pullback. Because Meta is one that could, if it goes against you and you're on the wrong side, it could hurt you a bit there, right? So you get a little bit of a pullback right now on it. Right, there's daily VWAP. Yeah, I swing trade, I day trade, swing trade, long-term invest, multiple styles. I had a couple of good swing trades for the team last week. Citigroup, Visa, Qs. So held that for the whole week, etc. For the most part, Qs at least. No follow through here so far. If you want to try to snag Meta, markets are pretty heavy. That's why it's hard to. I see advanced declines decreasing. So even though VIX is kind of on its lows here, I'm going to keep an eye on this. Even Google can kind of pull back. So that premium on Meta right now is going for about 475. So you catch it on what's called the front side on VWAP, coming into VWAP. All right, cool. We got a VWAP test. SPY is breaking down a little bit off its VWAP. I cover futures in the morning. It's recorded. I can also check out, so you can maybe check the recording after this is done. But right now, sitting on my hands at the moment. we're inside of what's called the Globex cycle looks low. We're just in the middle right now as we speak. But I cover this in the morning. You can just watch the YouTube recording, and it's right in the beginning, so you don't have to scroll too deep into it. So I'm just being a little patient right now because we got not rally overnight. We got a drop over here. We're kind of on VWAP as we stand on the daily. You get the 20, get the 50. So we're kind of balanced out just a little bit right now. All right, Google, just TP some Google. Anybody snag Meta on that VWAP test? All right, you can see even the limit order in this account got filled, and then let's TP. I don't even have a limit order on this one, but boom, we just got a nice little pop. All right, nice. So got them for sub 150, 140-ish. Just dump some out, 225. All right, Meta just came back right to its VWAP and just bounced. I want to dump out a little bit more of Google here. But now your stop loss can be a break even. This can't hurt you no more. All right. All right, Meta's going to. So it kind of reminds me of yesterday where tickers were kind of on fire. Some tickers were on fire, but not so much indexes. All right, but nice catch in Google here. All right, great, whatever. Stop loss can be a break even here. Man, it wasn't quick enough on Meta. So it was a little high, but that thing popped a little bit here if anybody took that. I did not take it, so I'm not going to make notes on it. But it did what it needed to do there for at least on a quick little scalp TP. All right. Microsoft dropping, however, you got to put it into perspective, right? And it just swiped yesterday's low, at least for right now. Broadcom trying to base and break, ticker AVGO. Broadcom, long call, decent. Trying to clear yesterday's late day, just kind of dead range. And I almost have to go with this positive COG back above the flat 200 here. I'd be more pissed that I missed it than more pissed than being wrong on it. What are we trading? 245 handle, give or take, on Broadcom AVGO ticker. If you wanted to pick up, say, the 247 half, that's going for about 298 here. It's going to be like a 40-something odd delta here. I got a TP. Let me TP some more Google here real quick. Nice pop. Options are up over 100%, so you're almost, well, not over 100%, about 100%. So you gotta grab that. From like 140, 150 ish to $3 here. You gotta grab that. Let me see. So this Broadcom ticker here, nice pump in Google. I'm sorry, 247.5 strike. Going for about 292 here. If you wanted to try to cheap this out a little bit, you can maybe put it in a bid here at 270. Okay, but I'm going to get long this long call Broadcom. 247.5 strike. Friday's expiration. All right. Markets is still had a breakdown on VWAP. Weird today. Apple trying to go. Microsoft pulled back. Swipe yesterday's low. Broadcom trying to hold bids. Google pop. Not much fall through yet on AVGO. We'll see. Why is VWAP not on this? Put my VWAP right there. Okay. So it's still just basing. It still hasn't broke yet, so I'm taking a little bit of a shot here on Broadcom here. Still inside of opening day's range of today, and yesterday's kind of just late day. Late day done for the day range. Yeah, Lily's good for it. Was don't chase it too much because that's another stock that'll hurt you. But it was good for a swing trade that we had planned last week, which I didn't even take, and then day trade potentially today. All right, so I was trying to break here. Q's a little bit more stronger. Make sure VIX is on lows. It is, give or take. Yeah, this market's not screaming right now. But it's trying to improve. I can maybe go with some Qs here, trading to 532.5 here. 532.5 give or take. Broadcom still no follow through. So mainly Apple's holding bids. Netflix. Yeah, AMD new high. So an entry on Lily would have been, VWAP test here. There could be another little VWAP test here, actually, too, on that. But as you can see, there's really not much follow through, folks. At least right now, still early. If you want to take a shot at this, I mean, you're in the middle of the range on Qs right now. AVGO pulling back on me a little bit here. Gotta keep an eye on that. All right, so far we look at some Qs here. If we went like a 46 Delta, 532, slightly out of the money, they're going for about $1.13. Again, this market would need to break out above yesterday's high. It's not really showing a ton of great signs for that, at least at the moment. We're just in yesterday's range. So it kind of be like a low risk entry here on these. Going for about $1.12, $1.10 now. You could see AVGO pushing back here on it. Tesla trying to pop a bit here now. But remember that supply zone at about the 316, 317 handle, so be careful. Look left. Look left. Look both ways before crossing the street. I'll pick up some Q calls here. All right, this is the 532 strike just for 0 DTE. We'll see if we can get something cooking here. I'm not liking how AVGO is acting. All right, that's Qs. I gotta get to AVGO. I'm gonna let it kind of, absorb where its low range is. All right, taking a shot here with Qs. Super rangy, super mid range. So don't get so upset if this doesn't really follow through. Kind of a risky mid range balanced entry. Try to get that a little bit of a shot there. And let me get to AVGO real quick. All right, last week's low. So this would be too much space to let this go for that day trade. That's way too much risk on those premiums there. No. But don't want to be, like, if you look at Microsoft, you got to be careful, right? Because you get these swipes. So unfortunately, it didn't break out. I got the, kind of bought the highs up there, give or take. Not ideal, but I don't want to get swiped, kind of down here. So So you have to kind of battle through some drawdown, at least on the option premiums. No, here. All right, good enough. So last we saw here. So if I were to price slice and put a risk profile in this, say 242.30, what does that look like? That might be too much risk for some, and I get it. 242.30 handle, give or take. $232.30 handle, right? So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to price slice, without getting caught up in this low range here, getting out for, because we can just get back up to the upper range and play the range game and potentially break out to the upside, right? But so I want to put some risk exposure. Okay, if we get down to not 232, 42, I know that seemed way too far. There we go. Okay, if I bought these for, $3, yeah, it'd be about 2-point risk there, which might be too much for some. So we run like a risk profile. On this. That might be too much for some. I would hate to put it right below there because that could be a swipe right there. But if you said, you know what, okay, if this breaks the 253 handle low range from yesterday, call it 240, 242.90s. Because you want to remain objective, right? Let the market take you out. No guessing. Google off its VWAP. Tesla trying to fall through. $242.90. It'll still be about $2 of risk, give or take. All right, if you don't like it, you can cut it. You might be potentially cutting it at the low range, okay? But depending on what your fill was on AVGO, it's going to be anywhere between maybe about $2 of risk on this. All right, already down about 80 cents on that. Google new high on the day. All right, so I'll be here. I'll see if we can sit here a little bit here, manage that AVGO. We're testing that last week's VWAP right now. TP's on Google. Tesla, if you caught that, it's coming into a bit of a supply level. So I distribute too slow on this Google here. We were just going for sub almost $3 there. All right, so I'll give this one last little hoorah here. It's either a swipe or cover, go back up into the upper range, or stopped out. All right, and we got Google. Anybody reload? I know some of my phantoms might have done this. Anybody reload at that VWAP test on the Goog there? AMD follows through. Careful up here. Just trying to do it in here for a little pop. Cool, interesting. All right, so we get the first 30-minute bar print in here. So usually I like to switch this to a 30 real quick here. Might have got snagged in Avgo, we'll see. VIX still hanging out on its lows. But this market doesn't want to pop. Remember, there's kind of no catalyst right now, right? So, all right, AVGL is not looking good. All right, so we're gonna have to cut this loss. All right, priced it up for $2 a risk, but it's down $1 for 3. It's going for low 2 right now in the accounts here. So, again, if you want to try to hold it out for a 2-point risk, you could. This could be a little bit of a trap here, but I'm just going to cut this risk here. I'm going to be out. So AVGL is going to be a loss here on the books. It happens. Sucks, but wish I can have every trade for you folks profitable, but it's not a reality. All right, AVGL loss. And we don't have losers here. We don't do that. All right, just gotta keep it moving. As long as your risk exposure is, point here, point there, low risk, keep it low risk, continue to trade. Nothing too crazy here. All right, there's no follow through. Apple's trying to play, yeah. It's trying to. Be careful with it. If you look at the higher time frames as this thing's loading here. It's been a heartbreaker because it's just extremely basey right now over the past several days. It was getting pinched across all the boards here. So again, condition-wise, it's not the greatest. So you got to put that into account if you're trying to trade it. So like the higher time frame condition is not the greatest. And I can just see right now, like there's just a low volume, no catalyst, kind of like a summer kind of nobody at the desk vibe right now. Joe Frank is mentioning gold's chilling, just pushing back. It's good. Like when you see tickers like inside day, it's you realize it's not really moving that much, right? If you're looking at a small time, from the 1 minute and 2 minute, it could be like, oh my god, it's moving, but you gotta always look at the higher time, monthly, weekly, daily. Your inside, outside bars. That looks like an aggressive pullback like on a 1 2 minute time frame, but it's, you'd almost welcome that for bullishness, right? If it's going to come into some kind of level. ND fixing to make a new high there. Trying to get a little bit of a pop here on SPYs. Let's see if there's follow through. We have this positive gamma node 60.25, so that's providing a little bit of supply right now in the marketplace via market makers exposure. Joe Frank was mentioning the 60-50 if you want to do a YOLO. We could TP some Qs here. If we got into this trade on this little pop here, just in case it doesn't follow through. Need a bit more for this though, for to fill in the AVGO loss in all fairness. But green is green at the moment. Just trying to work on it. TP aggressively. I have this phrase ABC always be closing. All right. You can even throw limit orders in for like a spike. Pop, jump. All right. If we get that, Google fixing and making high. Jeez. Yeah, dump out some Google. I don't even have a lot left. I'll let go of a couple more here, and my size is really significantly lower here, especially after this here. All right. So I'm down to only 2 contracts remaining on this. That's it. All I got. I can't reload here or anything. That would have been better to help some AVGO. Right, and so you see how this is following through. Google's following through. It's called painting bars, and we do this thing. It's a whole shindig, right? Whereas other tickers, so far it's still early, but Amazon inside 30-minute bar, right? Google's playing ball. Oh, I misunderstood. Tesla actually has a little bit more room up to its supply level there. Microsoft swiped yesterday's low just for some liquidity. We'll see how that balances out. It's already starting to balance out. Through. Palantir drama. I own this stock. I'm going to dump out some more shares on Palantir. Let's take some profit on Palantir. Oh my God, I'm gonna probably cut this out soon, folks. I got some stuff to do. Google was a hit. It's like my Palantir long-term trade there. Thanks to a member, Carl, my man, Carl. Jacob Rodriguez. Semiconductors are quiet right now. I just got clipped on AVGO on it. So it's really gonna have to prove to you. It's really rangy at the moment. It could have a potential breakout. We're flirting above this May last month's high here. I guess we're in supply, but we're kind of absorbing that. Yesterday we absorbed that. We took it out. So it could potentially go. You might almost be better off trading Qs, just because Qs have Google and Tesla and some of the and Apple, some of the names that are trying to work out too. So you're not so risked only on Nvidia if it does not follow through, right? For example, what if Apple pops today, right, and Amazon catches a bid and pops, right, and right, and that might pull up Qs, right, but then Nvidia doesn't follow through. Right, so it's kind of like spreading your risk if you just work on Qs. It's trying to, but it's going to be very similar to the AVGO, where it's either going to be a base break or kind of like nothing. Now, what you could do is potentially be patient and wait for, like, say, a 30-minute positive COG above. Yesterday's kind of just late day kind of range, if that makes sense. It's looking like it wants to go right now, but it looked like it was going to wanted to go here this morning too, and it came right back down low range. So that's one of the things that I probably could have waited for at AVGO. I was giving it the benefit of the doubt of like some morning momentum. Even though the location is not super great, but being without being patient here, this looks like it was going to be a green bar close. It didn't, right? And so I paid for that. MU ripping. As MU's ripping. MU is indeed ripping. That just had a nice pop. This would have been nice to snag. That's a nice one here. Almost similar to Google. Dang it, that was a good one. Kind of a semiconductor there. That was going good. Yeah, you're coming into some weekly highs now and some monthly highs up here. So watch out for a liquidity sweep up here because you're late now, right? Especially for like a swing trade. Day trade, there might be some more meat on the bone here, but make sure you wait for pullbacks, right? Wait for pullbacks on VWAP the white dash line and snag some positive COGs because I got some nice momentum here. However, always look up, always look both ways before you cross the street, right? Look on the higher time frames. As you can see, we're kind of outside of 2 standard deviations on the monthly, on the daily over here to the right. 4 days out, we got this massive monthly high, couple of monthly highs up here. See that? So there could be some liquidity sweeping here at 115 and above. Okay, try to trap some buyers. Okay, too late, because this looks like it just wants to go, go, go. So watch out. You gotta watch out with that. You gotta watch out for those sweepings. Okay. That said, this thing had a nice base break off the flat 200 here, 20 EMA. Nice little setup here, fall through. All right, but these swing traders that are generating alpha off this move here are going to be starting to unload and taking some profit. Okay, and even day traders now with these fall through on the day trade. So again, don't get FOMO. Right, you end up buying the highs too late, and you get dumped on. I'm not saying it's going to come dumped all the way back down here, but mean reversion pending on this, right? So anytime that I'm outside 2 standard deviations, I got a monthly here. It looks like this thing is just going to break and go. There's a little sneaky weekly right about here. I'm sure Mark Wahlberg is probably looking at this. You see that little weekly high right there, and that's above the monthly highs. Weekly high here is 116.34 handle back in July 15th, 2024. I see the date up here. So this high is what? 115.36. No, I didn't even pull the trigger on Meta. There's a decent setup there. It's kind of just flat now, like I'm mentioning in this whole market. There's a couple tickers that are following through, however. And I could be wrong on this, but today definitely seems so far, there's no catalyst, right, etc. Might not be a day to like press. This weekly high is 116.34. We gotta change that. Trying to say 35 there. All right, so above that orange monthly, right, that weekly sweep could potentially be a nice little trap some late bulls for mean revert lower. Or trap some late buyers. Trap some late buyers late for a mean revert lower trapping. All right, for the day trade, you almost have to kind of wait for your next bus down here. And kind of whichever comes first, down here or up there. If we already tagged that 116 liquidity sweep level that I just talked about on the weekly, okay, then I'm not going to be taking VWAP bounces anymore because we've already hit that high. So that could potentially give some more power lower. All right, so it's kind of like train station or bus here, whichever one kind of comes first. You'd almost want it to come down lower so you can work on a next little pullback long engagement entry. Okay, and try to ride it up into that 115, 116 handle, if that's even going to happen. Could we short MU to VWAP? The answer would be yes, Norman. However, I would want it to be up at the monthly or the weekly level first. Right? Does that make sense? So again, it's kind of like you have two buses, two stations that you're kind of waiting for, the north station and the south station, if that makes sense, right? So I would if it gets up to like the 115, 116 handle, right? And we just popped a new higher high. All right, and we're away from VWAP. All right, so there's two kind of setups there if you understand tape. That would be quadrant number 2. Right, will be uptrend reversal, short entry away from VWAP at a monthly or a weekly. And that's a critical piece of the puzzle that you must understand. So as you can see, we get the right just quadrant number 2. Look, right? It's just pretty simple. Get a simple little 5 minute time frame here. You always want to look at the monthly, the weekly, and the daily, right? But how high we have a new high, and we pull back, new high, and we pull back, new high, and we pull back. So now we're coming at the monthly. Okay, so you have kind of entry down here for the long engagement. Okay, maybe pull a fade view up here, but be careful with that because you're getting closer and closer to the to this monthly, and then we have a monthly level here, and that would be kind of your mean revert entry up here to revert it back down. Man, AVGO, annoying. I'm not too happy with that trade. Yeah, advanced decline's increasing for what it's worth. VIX hovering on its lows still. Just quiet, y'all. Cumulative VIX increasing consistently here. And you'd almost want to see advanced declines, kind of drop down a little bit, and maybe see if we can get back. This momentum can kind of can continue if that can. Let's still continue to work on Google. You got a bit of a demand zone test right now on a small intermediate time frame. If you're still going to be trading. It's not a Zen, whatever they call it. Zen. It's my chapstick name. Everybody says, is that a Zen, whatever they call it? IBM. Tesla's putting in a little red bar there. IBM new high, monthly, week, daily up. IBM. IBM the sleeper. Nobody talks about IBM as much, but they have a heavy hand in AI. They just don't get talked and spoken about as much due to like NVIDIA and the AMDs of the world and the Broadcoms. But IBM's sleeper. No, Sebastian, I am not. I am not. I guess that sounds like it. All right, folks. Unfortunately, I'm gonna, I try to get some stuff working here for you. It's gonna be courteous of my time here, just because I'm moving, etc. I got a couple days left. I still got some things to do, of course. Almost never done. So I'm like extremely in the final stretch. So I'll be with y'all later today as well. That all things being good. I got the internet back up. Kind of weird yesterday. Got so pissed. I redo a whole new setup. Anyways, whatever. Moving on. So tonight, good. Tomorrow being Wednesday, good day trading session is going to be normal. We'll have a Wednesday session. Thursday morning, I'll be on YouTube maybe for another, maybe like this, kind of like an hour and a half, give or take. We'll see how the markets unravel. And then mid-Thursday, I'm cut out. So there's no Thursday night sessions that we usually have. And then therefore, I'm going to be starting to begin to travel here on the 13th here. Or I have to be out, I'm out of here on the 13th, so I got no internet here. All right, got the should be set up. I said this in the beginning of the session too. Less people were in here, so now there's more people in here. I got the internet hookup set up for Monday, the 16th. I'm hoping to get that done in the morning. They give you kind of a window. Yeah, I'll be there between 9 and 5. Okay, that helps. Great. But I'm going to be unpacking anyways, be home. So that'll be the first things I'm going to set up here, of course, is internet. And, we should be good to go back on Tuesday if that's fair. Okay, so you're going to give me a couple of days and shipping up to Boston from from North Carolina. So it's not like I'm just moving into a different neighborhood to the side. All right, I'm going to a whole different state. Cool. Yeah, just be patient with it, Jason. The video is going to be a bit tricky. You know, if you're working Google right now, Google's already going. If you already added on the pullback, it's already kind of doing its thing. But if you're watching it, you could try to work on something there. All right, folks. Google good, AVGO bad, Q's okay. We'll start to see if it breaks out, and that will be that. If you want to learn a bit more about this, you can hit up TradePhantoms.com. We have plenty of members in here right now already, and everybody has to start here for the most part. Okay, so you go to TradePhantoms.com, click on register here, and it'll bring you to a web page. First name, email. It's going to be Thursday, June 12th, 2025, 7 p.m. Eastern. Register. It'll send you a link. You know, y'all can read this, how markets all work and all that kind of stuff. Hosted by Mr. Black or Mr. Green. Sometimes they'll both be in there together, helping each other out. And everything, stocks, futures, forex, options, even crypto. All right, these days, short-term trading, scalping, all the way to long-term investment management. Okay, it's kind of a one-stop shop for all here. And if you like it, cool, that's great. If you don't like it, that's also cool, that's great as well. We're still going to do our thing and train our traders and keep it moving and grooving. Google, about to punch a new high. TP soon. God bless. Take care. Blue out. Trade safe. Be safe.